11 minutes. I'm going to give some back to Sister Earl. So, our topic today is whose table are you eating at? And if I wanted to use a subtopic, I would say, be careful who you invite to eat at your table. I say it again, be careful who you invite to eat at your table. So I'm going to be coming from Psalms 23 and 5. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemy. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. As I studied this verse has a lot of meaning. When God prepares a table for you, just know that there will be peace, even in the midst of the storm. When the enemy is there in the midst, because no matter how much peace you got, the enemy always shows up. Whether he's sitting beside you, but just one thing, know who's at your table. You gotta know who's at your table, who you're supping with, because everybody you sup with ain't your friend. They might pretend like they're your friend, but they ain't your friend. I heard a songwriter say, everybody ain't your friend. Everybody ain't your friend. I don't care how they pretend that they're your friend, everybody ain't your friend. What they do, they pretend like they're your friend, so they find out your business. And once they find out your business, guess what? You're the next on the menu at the round table. The next time they have a sitting, you're going to be on that menu, because they done already found out your business, and they're going to talk your business. And so David knew that God was the host for the table. Because God was the host, he was the one who prepared the table. He said he prepared the table before me in the presence of my enemy. God sits at the table when there's no threat, not even to the enemy, not even when the enemy is present. God has had David back throughout everything. And y'all know David done a lot. David done a lot, but through everything, God still had David back. And David knew that the Lord was his shepherd, and he shall not want. David knew that God would be there for any of his needs. David lacked nothing. David knew that God had him even in the valley of the shadow of death. Have y'all ever been invited to something? We all have been invited to someone's house for dinner, and we depend on the host to set up the table, prepare the meals, prepare the food, and then serve and pick. And you know what? They handpick who they want to sit at their table. Because one thing I'm learning at this walk of Christ is, you don't wear a long dress, you ain't coming at my table. You ain't got no money, you ain't coming at my table. If you ain't holy, you ain't sitting at my table. Because we can pretend to be holy just so we can sit at the table. If you don't carry that rank, you ain't sitting at my table. God. And I just thank God that he's not like man. Somebody's table. And have you ever sit at a table with somebody, every time they open their mouth, they talking about somebody else? My God. They talking about somebody else, and guess what? Their own life messed up. But they talking about somebody else. We don't do that as church folks, do we? We don't go out to eat and sit at the round table and talk about who did it and what they did in the church. And we all messed up. We don't do that. I know church folks don't do that. Not saved ones anyway. But anyway, you better watch who you sup with, because you might be, like I said, you might be the next on the menu. So this reminds me of Matthew chapter 26. I'm almost through, y'all. And I'm going to paraphrase Matthew chapter 26, because if y'all know about Matthew chapter 26, they talked about the Last Supper. Okay? And so Matthew chapter 26 is Jesus handpicked his disciples to have the Last Supper with him. If y'all read Matthew 26, he handpicked them. This was the feast of the Passover, which take place in the 12 disciples that Jesus handpicked, and they seated at the table that Jesus was preparing for them to let them know what was to come. In this chapter, he's letting them know that the Son of Man will be crucified. In this chapter, Jesus visits Simon the leper at his house. In this chapter, chapter is where the woman with the alabaster box, when she anointed Jesus' head, she poured the oil on Jesus' head. And she knew that this oil was worth money, but that oil was worth more than money to pour over Jesus, his body. You know, in this chapter is where Jesus let them know, one of you will betray me. In this chapter is where all the disciples were saying, is it I, Pastor? In this chapter, you're going to have them acting like they got your back. And they're going to say, it's not me, Pastor. But guess what? Watch them. Watch them. When the first one speak up and say that ain't me, Pastor, watch them. Watch them. In this chapter, Jesus let the disciples know that all of them will be offended because of him. Because he told them in this chapter that he would smite the shepherd and the sheep of the flock should be scattered abroad. In this chapter right here, Peter tells Jesus, I will never betray you. In this chapter right here, Jesus tells Peter, before the cock crow, Christ, you will deny me. In this chapter right here, Judas was among the table. And he was handpicked by Jesus. But he was a betrayal. He sold Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. In this chapter, a lot happened in this chapter. In this chapter, you're going to find out that when it was time for Jesus to be crucified, Peter did deny Jesus. They were running scared. In this chapter, Jesus went to pray and he asked them, just be with me. Guess where he found his 12 disciples? They were sleeping. In this chapter, God showed up. He said, let this cup pass from me. In this chapter, a lot went on in this chapter. All I'm here to say, in this chapter, Pastor, in this season, Pastor, know who you handpick. Know if they chosen by God, because we can betray. We can have a form of godliness, but deny the power thereof. In this chapter, we got to know who's sitting at the table. The enemy will show up, and he will act like he like you. He will smile in your face and stab you in your back at the same time he's stabbing in your face. In this chapter, you got to know that you know that you know